this is Pitchcold Black here, and welcome to the Skulls General Reviews number 53. Bit of a different plan. My first Lethbridge Stewart book review was going to be on this, Times Squared, which is still coming, but I've decided to push my review on this back a bit, back to Skulls General Reviews number 54, because I feel like reviewing this would be a much more interesting installment to open up the reviews on Lethbridge Stewart with. In this video I will be detailing and talking about, for the first time on my channel, a Doctor Who book Easter egg. You're probably thinking, how does that work? Is it a continuity reference? No, it's not. So you're probably thinking, how's that going to work? You're just going to have to wait and find out in this review. So without further ado, let us begin this Doctor Who book review by taking a look at the presentation of this Doctor Who book. So we have, from the classic era of Doctor Who, Lethbridge Stewart, the sort of Lethbridge Stewart logo, the grandfather Infestation, John Peel, forward by Simon Clarke, and then for the cover itself we have in the sort of circle sort of template that all sort of Lethbridge Stewart books have, as you can see on the cover of Times Squared. All Lethbridge Stewart books have this sort of circular pattern to it. We have sailing on the sort of water and stuff with some sort of like lightning sort of bursting out of its sort of mast. We have Radio Crossbones ship, the main pirate radio ship in this book. Taking centre stage we have one of the EMA, as they are pronounced, with two more in the background there in their spaceship, with Lethbridge Stewart there using a smoke machine, I think. Can't detail that just yet. And then for the spine we have, if I was to move out this camera a little bit, we have the Lethbridge Stewart logo, the grandfather Infestation, Lethbridge Stewart, John Peel, Candy Jar, with a continuation of that sort of turquoisey sort of type of colour scheme. That's all Series 2 books of Lethbridge Stewart have. And for the back of the Doctor Who book we have a quote from Doctor Who magazine, the synopsis, a taken bit from the cover there, which is Lethbridge Stewart and the centre rhymer, or EMA, and then there we have cover by Colin Howard. We have visit candyjarbooks.co.uk, Candy Jar, then there you've got barcode UK 8.99, US 12.99, and then for the sort of synopsis, which is here. The Brigadier is such an integral part of Doctor Who mythos, it seems right and proper that he now has his own series, Doctor Who magazine. The late 1960s and pirate radio is at its height. DJ Mary Wilde is second guessing herself and her career choice. Is she a fool to think that she can succeed in a man's world? But such problems are soon put into sharp relief when something emerges from the depths of the North Sea and drags Radio Crossbones down. Meanwhile, Brigadier Lethbridge Stewart has to contend with the politics of running the Home Army 5th Operational Corps, but he's soon pulled away from such tedious back-patting when a nuclear submarine is lost with all hands while investigating the strange occurrences in the North Sea. What are the EMA, and why is it important for them to collect so many humans for their grandfathers, and why does their success spell certain doom for Edinburgh? Lethbridge Stewart, Anne Travers and Mary Wilde are about to learn the shocking truth first hand. A series of novels from the classic era of Doctor Who, starring Brigadier Lethbridge Stewart and Anne Travers, based on the characters and concepts created by Mervyn Haseman and Henry Lincoln. And now for the interior of this Doctor Who book. We have Lethbridge Stewart, the grandfather Infestation, based on BBC television series by Mervyn Haseman and Henry Lincoln. John Peel, forward by Simon Clarke. Candy Jar Books, Cardiff, a Russell and Frankham Allen series, 2016. Then there we have Copyright Guff, in memory of Robert Banks Stewart, 1931 to 2016. And then there we've got Forward, and then the start of this Doctor Who book. This is a 265-page long Doctor Who book spread across a prologue and epilogue, as well as 19 main core chapters. And there we've got Safeguarding the Legacy by Andy Frankham Allen, 25 years of Doctor Who novels. John Peel with X, The Lost Girl with Dorothy Ace McShane. Then there just got that. Then there you've got an advertisement for the next Lethbridge Stewart book, Moonblink. And then there you've got coming soon from Candy Jar Books, Gangsters, A Life for Life by Philip Martin, writer of Vengeance on Varos and Mind Warp. Vengeance on Varos probably being, I would say, my favourite AP story. Perhaps I prefer it over to Caves of Androzani, to be honest. I think it's an amazing two-part story. But now, with the presentation of this Doctor Who book out of the way with, what is the general consensus and my own personal thoughts and opinions on the Grandfather Infestation. As for the general consensus of this Lethbridge Stewart novel, it has an average rating of 4.11 out of 5 on Goodreads, with very positive reviews overall, with many 4-star and 5-star reviews, with the rare 3-star reviews or lower. Oh fucker, this is going to be a long barrow again, isn't it? Peel has a reputation for being quite an interesting case with the Doctor Who books, to say the least. His target book contributions have been very praised over the years. The original books he has done, not so much. I would say that his target books, The Daleks' Master Plan Part 1, Mission to the Unknown, and The Power of the Daleks are hands down two of the best target books I have ever read. And others say similar things with them and his adaptation of Evil of the Daleks. The same cannot be said, unfortunately, with his original fiction novels, definitely. Recently, an amazing reviewer by the name of TJ Productions recently uploaded a review on the very first Doctor Who version book, Time Room Genesis, and completely tore it a new asshole, basically saying that it was an obviously rushed, over-sexualised, disturbing mess of a pathetic attempt of a Doctor Who book that was so clearly just written in a hurry so that John Peel could have the honour of being the first person to write for Virgin. Unfortunately, I've also had the displeasure of reading the same book, and yeah, it's not that good. Not only is that contribution to that range considered horrible, many people also slate his two EDAs, War of the Daleks and Legacy of the Daleks, basically saying they are continuity fuckfests that fail pretty badly at being overall good books. To top all of that off, this is Peel's first Doctor Who book contribution in very nearly 2 decades. So he has had more than enough time to come back with new perspective on the books and new ways of writing them. Right? So, with all of that context out of the way, with how was I with this book? Well, I'm extremely conflicted with the book, and extremely is an understatement. Out of all of the Doctor Who books that I've reviewed on this channel to date, this is without question the most difficult one to rate that I have reviewed out of all of them. This has given me the biggest trouble. Honestly, almost out of pure frustration, I very nearly threw this thing across the room. Parts of me want to call it divine, parts of me want to call it very good, and parts of me want to call it a patchy average romp. And overall for me, it's unfortunately all of that. The main premise of the book and plot, I would say, is pretty great, with the Ema, a race of aliens basically being the Krynoids, with the ruthlessness of the Daleks, coming to Earth and enslaving people for their master plan during the peak moment of pirate radio. And that's basically it, actually. I honestly didn't realise it was so thin until I had started scripting this review, to be honest. Sure, there's more elements to it, but in summation, the characters in this book are pretty good for the most part. The two members of Radio Crossbones that we get to see the most of are Mary and Al, both of which have interesting character chemistry between each other. Peel's writing allows these characters to develop throughout the novel and allows us to attach to them pretty easily. Both are pretty solid throughout, with Mary being a smart, caring thinker, with Al being a bit more of a stupid character that only cares for himself for the most part. However, Al can almost be too stupid in areas despite his character engineering, with him eating an ema fruit and for whatever reason thinks it tastes pretty good, then immediately says right after that it tastes like grapefruit with a hint of bacon. Yes, you heard me right.
Oh, okay!
The other characters are great in this book. Lethbridge Stewart here feels very much like his TV counterpart, which is awesome. I can easily imagine Nicholas Courtney slipping into the role of the Brigadier here, as his military mind that he has in the Pertwee era is very prevalent here, with him eventually resorting to instructing the soldiers to lob grenades at the ema. The ema themselves are a great monster for this story, that, as I said earlier, are basically crinoids mixed with the ruthlessness of the Daleks, and are just the start of the continuity references and or homages to the classic series. They first appear when seed pods fall from outer space onto planet Earth and then hatch into the ema. Spearhead from space, anyone? Not only that, but more continuity is referenced and put into the reader's face by having Anne Trabert and, of all people, Chorley, the journalist from The Web of Fear, return, as well as having Private Evans return from the same story. The latter of which I'd say acts as a nice bit of foreboding to Peele's upcoming novella The Life of Evans, which I should be reviewing pretty soon. You'd think the continuity might stop there. Oh no, not even in the actual book, but on the cover itself there are two references mere millimetres apart. To the right of the cover we have Lethbridge Stewart spraying some pesticide. If you were to take a look at the canister on his back, you can see the figures and letters DN6, which is the same pesticide that was used in the Hartnell story Planet of Giants. Then below that we have a patch that is the word Havoc, which is a reference to the Havoc stunt team that contributed quite a bit to the action parts of Pertwee's era. Many more continuity references occur in this story as well, such as the references to the previous two Lethbridge Stewart books, Beast of Fame Rock and Mutually Assured Domination. But bombardment of continuity aside, there is truly some amazing stuff in this book. By far and beyond, the best moments of the book are two overall moral messages. One I immediately forget, but the other is never giving up, even if your loved one has died. This is when character A is distraught after character B dies and character C tries to comfort character A. Try to stay away from spoilers here. Which in my opinion is such a good moral and message for the book to have overall. Another interesting point that I'd quickly like to make is a thing that I only just discovered when I googled ema, as I realised that it was an actual word when Google Docs wasn't marking it as an incorrect word on the script, as I just naturally assumed it was just a made up alien name for the monsters in this book. And holy shit, I have discovered probably the most terrifying thing I have ever encountered with Doctor Who. It turns out the definition of the word turns out to be Old Norse for scream. That's creepy enough, but if we were to take a look at the cover, at the ema in the centre, you may think it looks kind of normal for one of them if you were to compare it to the ones in the background just there. Afraid not. If we were to take a really close look, you can see that there's a human hand sticking out of the plant right there. That's creepy enough on its own, but on the back cover, the same ema and Lethbridge Stewart from the cover are photoshopped onto the back of it, as you can see. But the hand in the ema's mouth is missing. Overall, despite having good monsters, good characters, a good moral message, and a decent setup, this book still flops overall somewhat. Paper thin plot aside, this book can be described as being patchy and a little sketchy, latter of which I detailed earlier with some of the characterization being a bit silly. In terms of patchiness, some parts just feel like padding, such as the ema don't get fully introduced until about the 100-page mark, the previous content of which having character interactions and being an introduction of the story. Not a bad thing, but everything pre-EMA I felt could have been shortened. I overall enjoyed it a lot, and it's a good opener to Series 2 of the Lethbridge Stewart book range. It's just nothing outstanding overall.